Hey everyone, it's Ferociousllama. I'm back again with another deck. Um, we're playing some Legacy today. Playing some Legacy Jund. Now, this is a deck I hadn't really played much because I didn't have the Grove of the Burn Willows, so I thought, you know what, I'll go out and I'll pick them up, and then I'll have them. And then I was like, oh cool, I got everything else for Legacy Jund, so let's make some Jund. And the base, the mana base is pretty basic. It's 3 Badlands and 2 Bayous. Those are really all of our tapping mana sources, except for, of course, Forest and Grove of the Burn Willows, and then a Swamp, and Wastelands if you want to count them. The only reason the basic lands are here are for opposing Wastelands, and we don't even have a basic mountain. Um, hasn't really been a problem, though, because if we do get Blood Moon or whatever, it's all good. And then, of course, everybody knows Grove of the Burn Willows, Punishing Fire, Banned in Modern, super sweet combo. Just demolishes any kind of Delver type aggro deck or anything. It has been a little bit tougher since the printing of Cons of Tarkir, though, because it does seem that they have a lot more resilient threats that don't die to 2 damage quite so much, like Tasigur and Gurmag Angler. Then we got typical hand disruption, which sorry guys, it was sorted by mana cost instead of by kind of function here. So we got the top 7 cards here. Hymns and Thoughtseizes, those are our hand disruption spell to beat up our opponent's hand. We got our Punishing Fire and Lightning Bolts for our creature removal. We have Abrupt Decay for those pesky counterbalances and whatever else we need to remove. Sylvan Library is just a sweet all-around card selection tool. And hey, if we got a lot of life, it's a card advantage tool too. Tarmogoyf, best 2-drop green creature ever made, probably. Not hard to make it into a 6/7, sometimes a 7/8. Like Tarmogoyf is usually like by turn 2 or 3 in Legacy, like a 4/5, which is pretty sweet. Hard to beat, and in my opinion, a better deal than Tasigur. Even though he does, he can cost 1 more. You don't have to double away your graveyard, which is nice. Then we got Dark Confidant, of course, original version because got to go with the original art. Then we got 3 Lilianas because Liliana is sweet. Because what we do is we make that equivalent for our opponent, equivalent for us to discard, clearly beneficial for us by discarding something like Punishing Fire or extra lands that we don't need. And of course, Punishing Fire. Getting Punishing Fire back is a card advantage engine also. Then we got Bloodbraid Elf, super sweet card, powerful. Sometimes it's a little bit hard to cast because it's 4 mana, which is a lot for the format, but and a lot of times by the time we can cast it, it's sort of like either the game's over or we either won or we lost. The one time that Bloodbraid Elf is phenomenal is when we're us and our opponent are both top decking and there's nothing going on, and clear board, and we're like, okay, what are we, gotta draw something here, and we draw Bloodbraid Elf, and we go Bloodbraid Elf, Cascade into Liliana, and then it's like, bam, win. Hard to lose from that situation. In the sideboard, we got Nihil Spellbomb and Grafdigger's Cage for the Dredge decks. Pernicious Deed because it's a good all-around sweeper. Takes out Affinity artifact lands too. I don't see it a lot in Legacy Online, but it's a thing that exists, I'm sure, somewhere at some point in time. I don't know how popular it is or if it's even a playable deck, but wipes out all that kind of stuff. Even against a lot of decks like the Storm deck that has all those artifact manas, the Lion's Eye Diamonds and Lotus Petals, things like that. Scavenging Ooze is great. The only reason it's not main decks because a lot of times our opponents don't have any creatures that we can kill and then eat, so it ends up being a bear with the ability to remove stuff from the graveyard. Also handy against some of the some of the Storm decks that play cards like Past in Flames. Ancient Grudge, super powerful 2-for-1 artifact destroy card. And then we got 2 Pyroblast and a Red Elemental Blast. They're essentially the same card, of course. Everybody's talked about the difference between the 2. Pyroblast can target anything, not just blue spells. It only has effect if it's blue. Red Elemental Blast can only target blue stuff, but they're essentially the same, but they're really for like Meddling Mage. In case one gets named, the other doesn't kind of get named, or I don't think anybody plays it, but if they play something like Slaughter Games or something like that, so we don't get screwed. And we got Surgical Extraction for certain decks that if we can nail something with a Hymn to Torok or Early Thoughtseize or something, and then extract it, so we don't have to deal with it for the rest of the game. Because some cards are just really, really tough for us to deal with, like Counterbalance. Really, really beating Counterbalance is not tough, as long as they don't have Counterbalance. And even when they do, sometimes what we can do is we'll just set it up so we'll have a punishing fire that we can play, and so they'll basically leave it on 2, and we'll just wear down their mana until we can play our 3 or our 1 drop. And hopefully they'll change it back, and then we'll play like the 2 drop we want to play. It's kind of a game, goes back and forth a lot. Change of Mephistopheles. Now, if I remember correctly, this card goes, if someone's going to draw a card, they loot instead, but I think they discard and then they draw. If they don't have any cards to draw, or to discard rather, they mill one from their library instead. So basically it puts an end to, there's no brainstorms when there's Chains of Mephistopheles, opposing Sylvan Libraries, none of that. Against a lot of the blue decks, especially like the Delver type decks that have a lot of cycling cards, like cantrips. So usually what I'll do is I'll board out the Sylvan Library in exchange for the Chains of Mephistopheles. When I first started playing the deck, I actually didn't board out the Sylvan Library ones, and ended up with them both in play, and that was a little bit of a bummer, because I was like, well, crap. That's not as good as I thought. And a lot of times in Legacy, a lot of decks just don't have a way to get rid of enchantments. Those kinds of decks, at least, they're like the red-blue Delver ones. Hymn to Torok for those that extra, kill some extra cards in hand. And then, elves. Elves are bad. I mean, they're good, bad for us. So we play Engineered Plague. Engineered against elves. So anyway, that's the deck. And let's play some Magic.